being a creative gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason to be here, and then I began to discover that being a creative is rooted in sharing healing. If I'm working towards having cathartic experiences and growing and shifting and changing and plugging that into my work as an artist, people are going to watch that and experience that possibly along with me. So then maybe there's the possibility of them healing and growing and changing with me as a result of taking in and watching what I'm involved with somebody else.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Going Out Looking In, the podcast about the big questions of life, personal growth and spirituality. My name's Maxi, I'm your host, and I want to tell you that you are enough. And if you ever struggled with that statement or asked yourself the question, am I enough? Then I think this episode is something for you, because my guest that I'm speaking with today, he said that to me in an online workshop a couple of years ago, and it stuck with me. It stuck with me until today, and it stuck with me and came up in the preparation for this interview. And so I wrote it down, and the first thing basically we started talking about in this conversation was that. So that really is sort of like the overall theme and topic and the title of this episode. And I think, everything that comes along with that, self-love, self-worth, is a big one. And I think it's important, especially for people who really, are putting themselves out there and show so much potential for vulnerability and openness, that just creates sort of like this, or can create this inner turmoil of how do I navigate this sort of like being tossed around in the waters of positive, but also maybe negative feedback or opinions and voices, of people, places and circumstances that are coming in, which happens a lot, when you put yourself out there. So if you ever asked yourself questions along those lines, you'll get something out of this. So without further ado, today I'm speaking with Kirk Baltz. Kirk is an American actor, life and acting coach. He is most known for his work on Reservoir Dogs, so that is Quentin Tarantino's debut film. He starred in Dances with Wolves alongside Kevin Costner, Natural Born Killers, 24, Without a Trace, NCIS, the list goes on and on. So it was a great honor to sit down with Kirk. We actually worked together. He was, my acting coach for one or two workshops online during COVID. And finally, we had a chance to sit down in person and talk while he was in Munich. And it was also for me a chance to revisit the city that I so much love and was living in for the last couple of years. And returning for me and for him was, I think, for both of us, a quite sort of spiritual and emotional event. And I think also translated to this episode. And I think it's very beautiful and very raw and pure and authentic. Funny enough, because Kirk's workshop that he's going to be hosting, which is the reason why he is in Germany, is basically circling around authenticity. And that being said, if you are in Vienna or in Austria, Kirk is there from March 6th to 9th, hosting his workshop on authenticity. So if you are spontaneous and want to grab a spot, I think there's a couple of spots left. Be quick and make sure to check out kirkbaltz.com to grab a spot and join Kirk and other very great actors and creatives in his workshop. Personal recommendation from me as well, because Kirk definitely knows what he's doing, and he will open up certain areas and compartments within you that you probably haven't really seen or heard and looked at before. So big recommendation. Also, talking about recommendations, I just wanted to also quickly let you know about something that I've been working on, which is very exciting, and I want to share it with you. So, looking at this room behind me, where I'm recording those intros, I'm going to be hosting a live podcast episode in our home, and with a special guest. Not going to announce yet who it is, but I'm going to do a live podcast with this guest, followed by a Q&A and also a mini workshop on the March 31st in Berlin, or close to Berlin. So this is open to the public. You gotta sign up. I will, make sure to inform you about all the details, where and how to sign up. But basically, make sure to follow me on Instagram at MaxiBartel. You'll find all the details there. I'm gonna keep you up to date within the next couple of days and weeks leading up to the event. March 31st. Live podcast episode with Q&A and mini workshop near Berlin. All right. So with all that being said, I'm very proud of this episode. I hold it close to my heart. I really thank Kirk for showing up the way he did, and also a little something. So basically, towards the end, it got very intense for both of us, and as the universe works its magic, the video stopped recording for the last 15 or 20 minutes, so there will be only audio for the last couple of minutes, but enjoy that. I hope you enjoy it either way. I think it's a special episode, so thank you for tuning in, thank you for being here, and with all that being said, I bring you Kirk Baltz. Kirk, it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Germany once again. How's that for you, being back here?
It's always nice. It started, I started coming here. I did a film here, oh my God, 20 years ago, a little bit longer than that. And then just started coming back and doing the working and teaching and coaching here. So it's always nice to come back.
What is something you notice when you come over, compared to the US? Is there something sticks out?
Every place is different. The whole thing is, no matter where you go, there you are. You're always bringing you with you wherever you're going. Culturally, there's some differences. There seems to be a little bit more reserve, a little more. Just a little bit more in, which is fine, at every place I go, and I'm fortunate enough to travel all over the place and go to different places. But, you see and feel a difference, and then it gets you to acclimate and adjust and meet it kind of where it is. But, it's, I love being here.
Yeah, I think when you're describing, you bring yourself with you. I think that's a big thing with traveling and myself as well. I'm just still sort of like settling down or trying to, or like.
You mean coming here from Berlin?
I mean just
traveling in general.
Traveling in general, and
Yeah.
then not using the traveling as an escape from yourself, because changing your outside environment is.
Well, it's funny. I find I spent, like, for instance, I flew here from New York, and that time alone on the plane, I'm big on always looking to turn isolation into solitude. When the pandemic started, everybody was like, we're all going into isolation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'll go into solitude, but I'm not going into isolation. And for me, the difference between the two is isolation is being alone and looking to run away from something or hiding from something. And solitude is rooted in being alone and being with something, moving towards something, be it yourself, an intention, a mindset, what have you. And the part that's always interesting for me that begins it is that time alone on the plane, going someplace and settling and focusing. And, I look around me on the plane and everybody's freaking out because they can't sleep. I'm part shark. I'm cool with not sleeping for moments of time, and then I'll sleep when I'm ready to sleep. Mm-hmm. I always think about Einstein, how supposedly towards a big part towards the end of his life, he took a 20-minute nap every 4 hours. At least I had read that somewhere. And not that I'm Einstein or anything, but so there I am on the plane. I'm working with a script and doing something with all the work I'm doing here in Munich and Vienna, and I settled in for that 6-7 hours and worked on that and dropped in, and it was cathartic. I mean, I had all these experiences and stuff came up for me because I was so alone. I was so with myself with that intention. So I think that's a beautiful way to start, so to speak. Going someplace is the traveling to get there, and then you arrive. And because you've been alone that way for a little while, there's a different thing that's happening when you arrive. Every time I get off the train from the airport near the hotel, the train station to get to the hotel, which is near the studio where I work, where I teach, I come over that bridge. How do you say it? Donnersberger
Brücke?
Yeah.
Donnersberger, yeah.
Yeah. And you cross the tracks, and I look out on the tracks. I took a picture of it and put it on Instagram. I've seen that view for 20 years. But every time I look at it, there's something different about it, and I love that. I love finding differences in familiarity, returning to a place, and then, because I'm always evolving, I'm always changing. So if I go back to that same place again and again and again, there's always going to be something different if I'm willing to look for it,
Well, it's good that the podcast is called Going Out, Looking In then.
Look at that. Look at that.
Because literally started with me going out with this guy, which you can just like plug out and you can just like use it as a mobile microphone, right. Going out, and then to look in, which is exactly what you're describing. And this time, what are you looking to bring here this time? What is it right now?
The two workshops, I mean...
Maybe we have to hold it a little bit.
Hold it,
yeah
a little like bit. A lounge act.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Better. Check. Always try and have a theme, and a lot of that arises in the text or the piece of work I'm working with. We're working this time with Mass, which is a screenplay by Fran Kranz. Incredible film and beautiful screenplay. And I tend to build these workshops, and it starts with usually a theme. And then sometimes I'll think about different screenplays or plays I want to work with. Sometimes I change my mind. Drives a few people to facilitate crazy, but I'm sorry. And the theme for me this time around is authenticity. Is what does it mean for us to be authentic and to find organic authenticity at our cores. And the thing that's coming up for me more and more is attachment. It's my attachment to, call it people, places, things, or whatever, or ideas, concepts. It's usually a want that somehow I manipulate into a need in my head, right? When it's not really a need, it's a want, but I'll blow it out of proportion and think that it's a need, right? And so that's kind of how these attachments fester and build within me. And then it becomes it turns into this arduous task of how do I let them go, right? And so that's the theme that's sort of coming up here. And I can't bring the work to you guys, to actors that I'm working with, without being willing to do it myself. So if I'm going to do it with you, there's community obviously involved, but it's collective. And so there's an element of I'm going to look at the same sort of things while I'm doing the work with you guys, And so that's the journey. And I think it starts before people even sign up. They start to look at it, then they sign up, and then they engage. And I think the work starts before they do show up at the workshop. It certainly does for me. So that's really, it's about letting go. And I think, with coming out of the pandemic and all of us getting back out and into the world right now, there's an element of, are there attachments or mindsets or things that have happened to me the last 2.5 years? Jesus, it's 3 years now, really. Yeah. We've all been saying 2 years for a long time because I think we were hoping it would be that short. Are there things that I grabbed onto in that period that I now need to let go of to get free again, So, that's some of what's going on for me right now.
Yeah, super powerful. I like the distinction between need and want very much. And it's also something that we discuss on this podcast quite a lot, which is spirituality. And I think that all of the Eastern teachings very much work with that as well. Is it something that we attach to, and what comes with being attached to certain things? Most of the time suffering, because if we don't end up getting those things that we so desperately want or think we need.
Well, we'll be attached to suffering almost in terms of a way of being sabotaged so that we keep ourselves distant from things that we're drawn to. My needs are met. My needs are always met. But this thing tells me differently. Wants, they come and go. Want. I mean, whatever. Mm-hmm. So if I reside in a place of my needs being met, it's always interesting in terms of character work as an actor. What I'm going to really begin to look at is, okay, so there's me, but then there's this character I'm looking to reveal. What's lacking in their life? What's going on with this character? What's unfulfilled within him? Right. The thing that's exciting for me that shifted really during the pandemic, the last 2-3 years, is that while it being need-based work, it shifted for me as if I'm working with someone, a character, and I'm engaged in something with them, I'm putting more focus on what is lacking in them. What do they need? And if I work to that end, to work to help them to attain, to get that need that's lacking within them, to literally gift that to them, I am inherently addressing a need that's lacking within me. And it's a wonderful shift in the work of an actor, but even just a civilian, a human being walking the face of the earth, rather than it always being me. What's going on with those around me, And what I've discovered is that there's an exchange that then happens, and then I'm more whole, more complete, more present, more available as a result of being more focused on what is lacking in the person that's in front of me. Because with fear, we get in a place of fear of like, oh my God, I'm lacking what I don't have, right? And it just perpetuates itself. So I can step around that I can let go of that by just going, what's going on with you? You know, what's going on? It's not avoidant. It's not, you know.
You said I did I think 1 or 2 workshops during the pandemic with you, and so all online, and something I wasn't it was quite it was some time ago, and a lot of work within myself has been done, and something you said, heard it a million times before, sticks with me with how you said it, which is you're enough. And I'm telling you, that hit me during that time, and I know that so many other people I've been working with during that time as an actor, also people that have worked with you, that something does for that, because I have the feeling that with somehow, I don't know, I mean, it's not only tied to acting, it's a life theme that we used to carry around with us in our heads, that it's lacking, something's lacking. But this, somebody looking you in the eye, telling you you're enough, and now we play that scene, for me, that made a huge difference every single time.
We'll play that scene or walk through our lives. There's not a whole lot of difference for me. You know, I really look at the work I do as an artist. It's very much connected to and a part of how I move through the world. I don't see a lot of a difference really between the two, you know. But I think that there's trauma, you know, and it's a word that's thrown around a lot these days. Just human condition and civilization and where we are and how complicated things have gotten and how we've collectively moved away from the simplicity of the core of that where we are and what we're meant to be and who we are. Inception, birth, bang, it's all right there, and then it just gets fucked with over time. And then I think we get to a place in our lives where we start to then move back. We do what we can to begin to return to that, I don't want to say perfection, but there's an element of that in it, in terms of it being whole, complete, enough, right? And I think that there's acceptance in that, and I think that that's a big part of letting go of attachment, is the acceptance of things the way they are, my accepting you for who you are, my accepting me for who I am, acceptance of the way things being the way they are right here and now, you know. And I remember that I was working with a wonderful actor in Cincinnati. This is a long time ago, man. I mean, this was like 25 years ago, maybe. And I remember the first time I said that in a class. And I said it to him, and he was working. And beautiful actor, amazing guy. And I just said, I just want to tell you that you're enough. And I think that in terms of acting, we're left feeling like I have to do more. I'm really big on stopping before I start. I love that. I love finding pause. I love who the fuck says, what is so wrong with like being able to say, I don't know? If I'm in a situation where I don't know, right?
Society, conditioning.
Yeah. You know, and I think that there's a still point involved in just the you call it a mantra or whatever you want to call it, of being able to say, I am enough, or you're enough, I am enough. Things are exactly the way they're meant to be right here, right now.
What was your process with that? How did you mentioned the word perfection. It's one word, returning to home, to the base of fullness where there is this enough.
Perfection's a tricky word. I mean, if we're talking about, you know, just things being the way they're meant to be, perfection is I mean, it's in flaw. I mean, there can be perfection in a flaw. So, I mean, there can be perfection in chaos.
Totally.
Or things being broken, right? Because it's exactly the way it's meant to be right here, right now. And who's to say it is actually broken? I'm saying it's broken because it's not the way I want it to be right here, right now.
Exactly.
Then we're all fucked. So yeah, I just there's so much grace in that, in allowing things to be just kind of the way they are. And for me, I never felt, as far back as I can remember being a kid, like I was a part of. I always felt like there was something off in me. I felt like there was something missing, there was something broken. I felt like I was dropped from another planet onto the face of the earth, and I did not know how to navigate and move. And from a really early age, I started pouring in, drugs and alcohol and chemicals to try and alleviate that some. And it worked for a while. It definitely worked for a while. And it gave me some calm and ease, and left me feeling like, ooh, this is what you have in your body that for some reason I wasn't given. So I'm going to, self-medicate. I'm going to give this to myself. And then I got to a place at about the age of 24, 25, 26, where I realized this isn't working. This is going to kill me. And, and I was left feeling like I didn't really want to live and I didn't really want to die. So between a rock and a hard place. And that was when I then let go of all that and began to find another way to live. And that was really the turning point of me really moving. I knew I was a creative my whole life. My parents were white-collar New York corporate. I knew I wasn't the kind of guy that was going to do 9 to 5 behind a desk 5 days a week. I knew I was more of a creative. I felt like I was more of an artist. I still enjoy painting. There was a period of time where I thought maybe I would be a painter rather than an artist. Sometimes I wonder about that still a little bit. But it was that acceptance of, and the beginning to find the willingness of really taking a shot at living life on life's terms. Things are going to get messy. Things are going to get emotional. Things are going to get difficult. There's an ebb and flow, that I began to get that. This is a very long answer. I began to get that sense
perfect.
But I began to get that sense of that I am enough. I am okay.
25, 26. Take me back to that. How was that process? What was that? Because something clicked, clearly.
Well, I mean, I speak pretty freely about it. I mean, I ended up with heroin addiction, and I was lost. I was very broken and beaten up and defeated and very uncertain. And at about the age of 24, 25, like I just said, I didn't know what to do. And then I was introduced to somebody who had the same problems and issues and difficulties, and had found a path and a way to shift. And I grabbed on and I jumped in, and I began to find, I look at it as being, there's fear and then there's faith. You can have faith in anything you want. As long as it's not the thing that's trying to kill you, right?
So being addicted to healing or to remove yourself from that pain, is that I think be a reframing?
I
right?
think it'd be a little difficult to put those two words together, an addiction to healing, because then you're just going to have obsessive behavior going on, and you're just putting it into something else, So I think at the end of the day, it is about balance. It is about equipoise. It is about flow. Again, the ability to let go. And that was a huge part of it. It was, I found myself, and it took me a year to let go of drugs and alcohol. Literally.
So it's a process, right?
It was a process of where I tried to not think about what is my life going to look like without these things. And I was very much focused on these things are killing me. Is that what you want? And then I would move towards that, and I go, no, I don't want that. And then I would move back towards life, and then I would go, ooh, I'm not so sure I want that either. So it was literally like being stuck in the middle, and so it was then that it is like being given a gift. I mean, there's an expression, a gift of desperation, right? And that's what I turned 27 in rehab, and that's such a turning point age. And I remember being there going like, this is when all these rock stars died at this age and yada, 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 yada. It was like, ooh, I'm moving through, Yeah. So, and then it just becomes, but then being a creative gave me a purpose. It gave me a reason to be here, and then I began to discover that being a creative is rooted in sharing healing. If I'm working towards having cathartic experiences and growing and shifting and changing and plugging that into my work as an artist, people are going to watch that and experience that possibly along with me. So then maybe there's the possibility of them healing and growing and changing with me as a result of taking in and watching what I'm involved with somebody else, right? And I think it took me quite a while to arrive at this, but I do think that art is about healing. Art is rooted in healing, and then you go, well, sometimes it's just entertainment. Okay, great. Sometimes we just need to be entertained. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, that is as far as, for us as the recipient, goes. But, there's the creator itself. And I had, it's actually funny, the last episode I did was with a good friend of mine who is a songwriter. And we talked excessively about the relationship between suffering and creating, Is there one? And artistry and suffering,
I'm not so sure there's much difference between the two.
Is it a requirement for creating?
Well, then I'd, define suffering. So, I mean, what is your definition of suffering?
My definition of suffering is not being in harmony with what is. That is suffering. And
is suffering a choice?
Pain.
Those could be different things.
Yeah. So I think the Dalai Lama said it.
The rest of this podcast is going to be about me interviewing you now. So just dig in and go for it, okay?
I think he said. No, actually the other way around. No, it's the other way around. I think pain is inevitably, but suffering is optional.
Well, I like that because then it becomes about what am I going to do with my pain? Am I going to wallow in it? Am I going to shine a light on it? Am I going to go, ooh, I'm in pain? Or am I going to even just redefine it and go, this hurts. Maybe that means there's some change going on. Maybe that means I'm meant to be looking at something from a different perspective. And how incredible would it be to have that organically as an artist on the journey of a character you're looking to reveal outside of who I am, I remember sitting, having a lunch one day with two other actors. And one of them said, hey, when you work on a role, do you look at the similarities between you and the character or the differences? And both myself and the other actor went, well, I first look for the similarities so I can identify and relate. And the other actor said, that's interesting because I look for the differences right away, right? And I think that that shifted something in me, because I want to go the easier, softer route. I want to look for the similarities and what's familiar and keep it safe. Whereas this guy, who's an iconic actor, said that's not, I go the other way, right? I go for the jugular from the beginning. And for me, that popped up for me a little bit with that thing, the difference between the pain and suffering, or even just difficulty, you know.
But it requires some sort of safety within you. It requires trust.
That's the word I just thought of, is trust. And then that circles back to I'm enough. I have everything within me that I need to deal with any situation that's in front of me. But my brain doesn't tell me that. At least this brain. I don't know about yours, but...
Yeah, it is. But that is why I in other ways, I'm so obsessively investigate this thing.
Yeah.
Because I want to basically... I don't want to make enemies with it. I think it's doing its job.
Well, I read
fine.
something really interesting the other day that I've been gravitating towards too for a little bit, and I'd heard it before too. But what if love actually lived in my brain? You know, I tend to think that love lives in my heart. It's more in my body, in my soul, in my intuition, my physical, emotional, feeling body. But what if inherently, love actually exists in my brain also? Right? That's pretty fucking cool. Because then it starts becoming more whole. The dots start connecting more. And I can start going, well, wait a minute. I don't have to compartmentalize all this stuff. You know, the things that are moving around inside of my body and what I'm feeling and what my intentions are, or what my fears are, you know, or what I believe, or what do I know is going to help me and heal me and help me to move forward, but I just don't want to do it for whatever reason. The reason is always attachment. It's attachment to something else, you know. And my brain gets very sticky. I'm not sure my heart does. But my brain gets very sticky.
And what do you do then?
Oh my God. Well, I was doing that. I told you earlier. I just, like yesterday morning, got off the plane from New York, and I've been jet lagged. And this morning, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I know I'm coming here to be with you at 10. And then I'm feeling like I'm never going to sleep again. Ever. So what's the fucking point, right? So then finally, it's like 8 a.m. and I'm supposed to be with you in 2 hours. And I texted you and I went, I need to sleep. And I'm starting to feel like I can maybe sleep. And, you know, and then I did. And then it's like, you know, you ask me, what do I do with this sticky brain? And I think it becomes... I gotta let it be sticky. I don't know that the why matters. I don't know that it matters, like if I need to try and figure out why is my brain sticky right now.
I think how.
That is it. That is it. Like, how can I move from that? What's the contrary action? What's the alternative? What's the behavior that might, because I'm so jet lagged, I'm so tired, I think I can't do anything. And I got out of bed at like 5 o'clock and moved the curtains and looked out the window, and it was snowing. And I haven't seen snow in a long time. I live in LA. I haven't been in New York for snow. I haven't, and I in that moment, I turned into this 6-year-old kid looking out my window, and my face just went like, and I was so happy to like see that. And then it was a shift. It took that simple action of me getting out of the bed, opening the window, wanting to see what was going out in the world. And then there was this other thing that took me out of self. That's the stickiness in the brain. It's self. It's self-centered thinking. It's me. Laurence Olivier was asked, what did he think were important things for an actor to know to do good work? And he said, well, there are 3 things. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And I always loved that, but I I know he was joking, maybe to an extent, but that's what I was doing in that bed. I was just running the same shit, and all I had to do was move my body, get out, open the window, and see what was going on, and it shifted me.
That is, yeah, it's so powerful. The little, yeah, it's from head into body into action.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to get out of a rut, I think. So where is it? Yeah, okay. Now we're recording with my phone, but that thing is poisonous. I really feel that. And as
Turned around the other way, and when you're scrolling on it,
yeah. So, and I had this moment here in Munich because this whole experience is a very deep. I lived here for 4 years now. Moved away. I'm coming back now to do.
You're gonna move back here?
No, not moving back, but just visiting. You know, whenever there's like any event going on, I'm taking it as an opportunity to come and visit friends and stuff. So it's just, you know, you were asking me how I am at the start of this thing, and it's just a lot going on. It's very intense for me right now to process all of this, and I have, you know, I use it as an alarm clock, my phone. So it's right next to my bed. I turn it off when I, you know, get up. And then as soon as I'm going to start looking at this thing, this machinery starts getting activated and it gets penetrated and stuff. And then versus me going out, which I did then the last couple of days, it was a bit warmer. And then going into the English garden and just like walking there. This is truth. This is what you're describing, and it takes you out of that thing. And it was so present for me. It was so present for me being present. What the fuck does that mean? And then this whole thing, you're enough. It's right there, and the disconnection starts arising when I'm not here.
Yeah,
you know.
I heard somebody a little while ago say they had a new thing they ran through their brain, or they ran through their head, or they just would contemplate at different times, and it was just simply, what if it works out? And I love that. I just love that, because I'm a little bit more wired to like, this is not working. This is just definitely not working. You know, and so that then is hope. You know, there's hope. And then I think that with that whole thing of, you know, I am enough, if something is lacking, then I can find the hope to move into that rather than call it bad or wrong or broken.
How do you work with that in your teachings, in your coachings with actors?
Well, there was a remarkable woman who just passed named Sandra Seacat, and she was actor studio trained, Lee Strasberg trained, and I was fortunate enough to work with her in the late 80s, early 90s. That was when I began to work with her some. And Sandra had a belief that, and I was thinking about this morning, when I was coming here and kind of what we might be doing and what might come up. And I asked you, because I'm a control freak and fear-based, I asked you yesterday, do you got any questions? Do you have a list of questions? And you were like, no. And I was like, part of me was like, fuck, I want to know what I'm doing. And then the other part of me was like, thank God. Thank God. And then I'm walking here this morning and I'm like, I don't want to do a podcast. I'm like tired, and what's the point, and yada, yada. And I quickly went to, I'll see Maxie, we can hang out and we can talk, and it just happens to be recorded. That's what I want my life to be. That's what I want the work to be. But Sandra had a belief that whatever part, role, film, project is being put in front of us to work on, it's being put in front of us to work on to help us to resolve something in our lives.
I love that.
Well, that is what I mean by art is rooted in healing. You know, that's and that's where that, you know, for me, where that came from. Anytime it becomes ego or this, that, who had James Mason, British actor from, back in the day, said that he liked to try and do 3 films a year. One, one for the location. He wanted to be in a nice location. 2 for the script, for the story, and a 3rd one for the money. So I don't really subscribe to that. I try and make them all a little bit more in line with what Sandra's talking about. And I think that anytime I say I'm done, or something is complete, I want to check that, because I think there's more grace. I think there's more possibility in things being left open-ended. I certainly am. I think that with painters or artists that create in that realm and make things that way, there's an element of, I want to stop before I feel the piece of work is completely done. And I love that in my work as an actor. I love that in my work with relationships with friends and people and family. Everything is always in a process. Finished? What is that? What's finished?
Well, yeah, I guess it's reaching is, yeah, exact. No, like it's a process, it's unfolding.
Yeah.
But I think we get very, again, attached to arriving at the final destination of happiness, fulfillment, and joy, and bliss, and that's how we line up relationships, how we line up work, how we line up money, so that one day this will come. And I'm telling you, man, the it's like sand. You just cannot hold on to it. Like, I see it with my dad now. He's in and out of hospital. He went with heart surgery and whatnot. It's a thin line that we're walking on, and so
through that. Yeah.
So, and what is like? So what is this? For me now, I'm like, yeah. So where is this destination? No, it's like every moment is those imperfect conversations with him, where apparent imperfect. Where I'm just like, where this thing is going, I had an intention. I had where this is going, a plan, an attachment, and moving more into this, presence and this harmony with the process. Yeah.
I mean, you're starting to now talk about father-son stuff. I mean, that's a whole other podcast, But I do think that another really important piece in this for me is should versus could. I'll get myself in a box of like things should be this way, and I can flip that completely around by going, things could be this way. One closes the door, the other one just opens up a door. And I'd rather live and create and work and be with people in a way that's filled with possibility, than some kind of finite thing that, I choose to impose,
Yeah, I get that. How, without, opening that whole bag, how important is that relationship to parents for individuals working creatively? What do you think, also when it comes to healing and stuff? Is that an essential part of looking at that?
Well, it's vital whether you're an artist or an accountant. I mean, it's so a part of that thing on the plane. My dad passed 14 years ago, and my brother and I just let go of a family apartment in New York City that's been in our family for 60 years. Right?
Yeah, I saw that.
And so I went through that process and let that go. And it was intense. It was cathartic, and it's been in the makings for a while now. But I sat on that plane, and And I decided I'm going to write a dialogue with my dad about just one specific event, childhood, that was definitely trauma related. And I sat and we started to talk it out on paper. Both of us engaged in dialogue on the paper. And it was incredible. And again, I'm in this place of solitude on the plane. I'm all alone. I'm 35,000 feet in the fucking air or whatever. And it's stuff that I've had before and I've looked at and worked through before. But there was something about this moment in time going a long ways from one place to another, where I am in my life, a lot of change that's going on. You're talking about changes going on in your relationship between you and your father. It distilled and it hit me in a way where I hadn't been smacked that way before. And I went into the bathroom and just started releasing, just started bawling like a fucking baby and just letting go. And then came back to my seat and felt like this, like 3,000 pounds had been taken off of me, Then it becomes about, but then as soon as I got like back in the world, I'm like, okay, now what do I do with that? So, and again, it circles back to, well, first we accept it for what it is. Secondly, I had a friend, a guy named Vernon White. And Vernon White was this amazing dude. He was from Texas. And he was Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson's right-hand guy forever. He was like their like kind of like their manager and took care of them. And he was just this sweet dude. He was great. And I would talk to Vernon once in a while and tell him about all this stuff that was going on in my life, or somebody that was bothering me, something that was going on. And Vernon's answer would always be, Kirk, if they could do any better, they would. Right? And that's what I was left with my own dad. If my dad could have done better, he would have. So there's acceptance in that. There's forgiveness in that. There's letting a go again of the attachment to he should have known better. He should have done better. He should have been this or been that. What? Because he's my dad, he's not flawed? What the fuck does that even come from? Yeah. So I finished that and then I went, it's time to write Mom. And I sat there and I went, I don't want, oh, really? Yeah. And I say that with you right now. And I'm like, it's Saturday, early afternoon. I have all day today. I have Sunday. I'm like, I want to go back and do some writing with my mom before this workshop starts on Monday morning. So it's always evolving.
But it's lovely. It's honestly, it's very moving, and it's thank you for going there with me, because this, you started saying with the work that you do with actors, the requirement, so to speak, for you is to show up, and
showing up is 80% of it,
and going there yourself, and talking about authenticity. Here we are, so. I feel that, and I think, and I know that people feel that working with you and being, and then it just opens a door of create. I mean, basically, you're a facilitator, right? You're opening that space where, and for me, looking back at acting per se, it's such a spiritual work. It's so. Like the intention of why I went into acting and what I got out of it couldn't be more different. However, I'm so glad that I had those experiences and I continue to have them, even if it's just sort of helping Roxy or something with some e-castings or something, without anyone ever seeing my face. It's just I'm doing this work for me, and this is so. And I've said that so many times, like like those workshops and this work, it just opens up like this vessel, and it's just everything but pretend. everything but act, you know, it's be. At least that was my experience. And then, yeah, the art was, you know, to bring that sort of, okay, so this is the character and this is me. How can I merge this? But I mean, you this is why I'm talking to you. Like, you know, how can we basically merge this? But yeah, that was just really coming up for me right now. It's just like, no, this intention of like, I'm putting like, look at me, I'm this guy, and I'm this actor and whatever. This was not met at all. However, I was met with shame, with guilt, with all the stuff that I suppressed, that I denied, the insecurities about how I am in the world, and yeah, like you say, man, just a good cry, also in front of people or something that hold the space, which happened to me a couple of times, actually here in Munich. So this is also why this place is so powerful for me. Because I had those first couple of breakouts here, you know, and breakthroughs, and people who were there, yeah, and hold that space for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that holding of space is a wonderful phrase, and I think that, you know, it's a powerful action to really engage in whatever it is that we're doing, where we're working to help hold space for others. You know, not for me. If I'm holding space for others, I'm inherently holding space for myself as well. But the problem is I always put me first, right? And then it's just not going to work. It's just, I'm going to stay, again, self-centered. You know, so I think, and I don't see a whole lot of difference these days between giving and accepting what's being given to me. You know, because of the way I'm wired, it tends to be easier for me to give than to accept something that's being given to me because of fear. I get afraid that then something that's being given to me has a string attached to it, right? The distrust in that. And that just goes back and back and back. But it's like there's a shift that's happening now where there isn't a whole lot of difference for me in giving and taking. There really isn't, you know, because if I'm engaged in that, that's what I love about the work that I get to do as a teacher and a coach. You know, I'm going to the gym with you guys. You know, I'm getting paid to work out. You know,
It's
and
awesome.
and there is a performative element in doing that work and teaching, holding a space, so that it's, you know, and I want to be engaging. I want there to be humor. I want there to be levity, you know, so that we can stay present. Yeah, man, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's not your 9 to 5, but it's it's
It's a little more 24/7 than 9 to 5.
yeah. You said it at the beginning. Yeah, you said it at the beginning. There's no dividing line saying, you know, this is where my work starts and this is where life ends, or the other way around. You know, it's just like it's fluent. And yeah, I guess, you know, you got to be built for that in some sort of like a little bit wired to do this work, because it's incredibly
It's important to have the awareness, and I need to work on this more. Like, how do I unplug? How do I let it all go and just sit and do something? I might even do it today when I leave you at the museums right here. A part of what I love about coming here and I try and give myself at least 2 days after I travel before. It used to be a day. The older I get, I want to add another day. Usually I would land on a Friday. I would fly on a Friday, land on a Saturday. This time I flew on a Thursday, landed on a Friday. So I'm definitely taking more days before I go. But to just walk through those two museums, the modern and then the other one. How do you say it? The Pinothèque?
Pinakothek.
Yeah. You say it better than me. I don't know why. But
Probably because it's German or something.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
But it's funny that you bring that up, because me living here for 4 years on and off, and then I was at Karlsplatz and walking down towards Marienplatz on this big shopping street, and you pass those churches, passed them a million times, and this time I had the eyes to see and the ears to hear, so I went in. Dude, that was something else. That was so powerful. Out of this, you literally shopping street where everybody walking around with their bags and phones and being somewhat, it's just life happening. And then you walk through those doors, silence. I went up to the altar, and there was one on the left side of the altar there was a side altar with Jesus, and then on the right side it was Mary. And dude, those benches, they have this sort of leather thing where you can kneel on, so you can do your prayings or whatever. And because I just I'm not praying, I love meditating, so I was just like sitting or like kneeling down there and then meditating there, and that was that for me. So
yeah, I mean, and the thing that I'm drawn to in that is that you had that moment of not walking, staying with everybody that's running around doing their stuff and deviating and going, I'm going this way.
Yeah.
So you left the pack, so to speak, walked in and availed yourself to that, and that's the contrary action. So that then when we go back out, there's something different that happens. We're out there in a bit of a different way. So
for sure, showing up differently, for sure. Yeah. So what is when feeling into that, what are you excited about? What's coming up for you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, right now, obviously, these 2 workshops here, doing the workshops in Munich and Vienna, and then I'll go back to New York for a few more days and help my daughter with some stuff there and do some other work I have there, and then go back to LA and do some work. There's I got 2 kids. They're 20 and 23. My daughter's 20 and my son is 23. I'm 63 now. So there's a real element of, you ask, what am I excited about? There's a part of me that's very excited about them and their lives and what they're doing. And then it circles back to your father-son thing that you were talking about, or me doing the writing I did on the plane last night. And one of the things I heard my father say to me in the writing on the plane was how amazing my kids are, and how proud he is of me, and how I was able to do things in a way that's different from the way he did things. There's movement in that, and that excites me, the flow in that. I say that to you, and then I start to think about with the 20-year-old daughter. She has a boyfriend now that she's had for 1.5 years, and there's a part of me that goes like, she can't ever get married and have kids. She can't. I'm not interested in that. It's not true, but there's a part of me that goes that. You think that's fear connected at all? Control connected at all? But I, like with my son, I start to think about, he'll one day do what my dad and I were talking about on the plane, and that, passing that. And then it's like, you talk to me about the work I do as a teacher and a coach, and I'm simply sharing what was shared with me, and I used to not like the word legacy.
Why?
Because it felt like a ball and chain. It felt like this thing that I was stuck with. Because I was looking at it negatively. I was looking at it as baggage. because I wasn't in a place yet of being able to move all that crap out of the way and look at the gifts, look at the stuff that shines, you know. And I'm able to do that today. You know, that took time. So, so when somebody says to me, you know, you're teaching in this, there's a part of me that's like, thank you. I feel blessed. I love doing what I do, but I am simply sharing what was given to me, you know? And I love the passing of that, you know? And I think that that's what we do as artists. We are engaged in something, we're creating, there's movement in it, and we're sharing it. You know, that's what can make auditioning so exciting. It's a job unto itself. Mm-hmm. And it's, if I don't have the expectations or the attachment to getting the job, I got the job, because the job is the audition right here, right now.
It's so funny with preparation for those conversations, because it's I have a very loose process with that, so that this can arise in a way that it does without me checking off the questions. And it's so funny because yesterday I heard a story about George Clooney and auditioning, where he basically along the line said that he didn't book anything. He really struggled at the beginning because the story was something lacking, and I need something from them in those auditions, until flipping it and saying, wow, I got the chance to provide them with a solution to their problem, which is they need an actor. Here I am. And it changed. So, I mean, it's you know, legacy and all that, you know. I think there's like sort of like a storytelling to that, but I think there's truth in there.
Yeah, I am here, and I'm right here, right now. This is what I'm doing. This is what's in front of me, and I'm sharing it. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. You know, circling back to Sandra Seacat saying, projects are put in front of us to help us to work through something. Maybe it's just the audition. You know, I get ahead of myself, and I you know, I start believing I know what I should have. You know?
How's that going?
It doesn't work. It does not work. Because then it's going to involve, and so get out of my way. You know? When in fact what that is rooted in is me trying, I got to get out of my own way. You know? Yeah. And it just circles back to, you know, the whole Ram Dass thing of like, be here now. Like, be here now, be here now, be here now, be here now, be here now. And I was blessed in that all my work in the beginning studying as an actor was Meisner-based, Sanford Meisner's work. And all of that for him was rooted in being right here, right now, being in the moment, you know?
Yeah. I also very much connected to, or connect to this kind of technique the most from the work that I've been doing in workshops and in stuff. It's just, yeah, and the more you know about sort of the big questions and the big philosophies and stuff like that, there's nothing more powerful than being this, you know, and this sort of like, I need to be present with you. I need to get out of my own way so I can just, I have to see you. I have to connect to you. And then when you then look at acting, then the scene lives, then something arises that is of value, and it is authentic, and it's powerful. All right. Well, you know, I got, I'm looking at my little notepad, and I actually wrote down 2 questions, which you can answer, you know, however long or short you want. What's something you're proud of?
My kids, definitely my kids. in line with what I just said, and the first thing that popped into my mind.
Right. And when was the last time you did something courageous?
Walking to do this podcast. It's a great question. I feel like there's a part of me, and it's such a gift, but I feel like there's a little bit of courage in moments of every day I'm in these days. There are moments of it. I think for me, courage is connected the most these days to letting go. To letting go, and then I have clarity on what it is I'm meant to do. And then it doesn't feel so brave doing it because I'm already like halfway in it. You know, if I'm getting the others, I think the courage for me is rooted in, again, that acceptance, that letting go. There's a lot of me dealing with attachment right now. Attachment to old ideas and the way I think things should go, you know. So I mean, it's funny. I joke about it, but it's like when I broke down coming here to be with you and just simply made it about a conversation between you and I, it became special. Because that is it's all about connection and relationship. That's it. But I want to blow it into like, how many people watch his podcast? Will this get me more work or this or that or the other? Or what if I look like a fucking idiot when I'm doing the podcast? Oh no, I shouldn't do the podcast. Oh no. This is a huge mistake. And then I eliminate all of that by going, just go and talk to him. Just be with him. See what's going on. You know? And I do think there's courage in the simplicity of that, which is rooted in getting all this other crap out of the way.
Yeah, man.
We live in a world of disconnect.
Yeah.
We do. And I think that there's courage in us having the willingness. I can't believe I'm crying at the end of your fucking podcast. Fuck you. I think there's courage in keeping things simple. And, you know, it makes me really happy to be able to say, I spend my days now keeping things simple. I don't complicate shit the way I used to, you know, and there's a lot that can come from that. You know, whether it's in my civilian world or my artist world, but those things coexist for me now. Are we done?
We are.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for
appreciate
doing
you.
this.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you.